Today we are talking about stormwater management. Does my facility even need a stormwater permit or a stormwater pollution prevention plan, also known as a SWPPP? Some background. In 1990, the EPA issued a final regulation on the control of stormwater from municipal and industrial stormwater discharges. The stormwater program is under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, which is part of the Clean Water Act. That regulation is meant to reduce the amount of pollutants entering streams, lakes, rivers, etc., as a result of runoff from residential, commercial, and industrial facilities. The regulation is 40 CFR 122.26. It does cover specific types of industries and storm sewer systems for municipalities with more than 100,000 people. You can contact your local authority having jurisdiction in your area or check your state and or city website for your stormwater requirements to see if there is anything for your company or your industry. However, if your facility falls into any of the following broad categories, you probably do need a stormwater permit and a stormwater management plan. So you look through this list, you can see facilities that are subject to federal stormwater effluent discharge standards, heavy manufacturing, so paper mills, chemical plants, petroleum refineries, steel mills. Talking about coal and mineral mining, hazardous waste treatment, storage and disposal facilities, landfills, open dumps. If you run a metal scrap yard, a salvage yard, an automobile junkyard, steam electric power generating plants, transportation facilities that have vehicle maintenance, equipment cleaning, or airport de-icing. So if you run a transit company, charter bus company, etc., chances are you probably do need a stormwater pollution prevention plan. You go on down the list, treatment works treating domestic sewage with a design flow of 1 million gallons a day or more, and then construction sites that disturb 5 acres or more. Light manufacturing, so things like food processing, printing and publishing, electronic and other electrical equipment manufacturing, public warehousing and storage. There may be a chance your facility may qualify for a conditional no exposure exclusion if you can provide written certification that all industrial materials and activities are protected by storm-proof shelter that prevents exposure to rain and snow runoff. Again, you can check with your local authority having jurisdiction for your specific company and location. So what if you do need a stormwater pollution prevention plan? Basically, there's some things you need to do to institute a stormwater pollution prevention plan. And you can go on the EPA.gov website to research this more in depth. But basically, here's an example, and this is from cdphe.colorado.gov. I currently live in the state of Colorado, and here's sort of a checklist that you can adopt to create your stormwater pollution prevention plan. So basically, there needs to be a designated administrator that heads the plan for your company, and a description of your facility and activities conducted on your site, and sort of a plot plan of the general layout of your facility, including acreage. Again, the name of your company, the address, if there's significant impervious surfaces. So do you have a lot of a large parking lot, a lot of concrete and asphalt outside, and stormwater conveyances, names and locations of all stormwater outfalls and respective drainage areas, and the direction of stormwater flow. So you would have arrows on your map indicating the flow of when it rains, where does the stormwater naturally flow. And then number and label all of your storm drains around your property. You'll need to know where those are. and stormwater monitoring points, because you have to take samples, and you can get a sample kit, and during the rain event you go out there with your umbrella at your designated sample location, and you literally collect the stormwater as it's flowing into one of your designated stormwater grates, and there's several jars, and you'll label each jar, the date and time, and you'll ship that off to an independent laboratory to be analyzed for things like zinc, hydrocarbons, suspended solids, etc. You'll conduct a facility inventory and assessment of the pollutant sources. So for example, if your test comes back high in zinc, a lot of times this comes from tires. So if you have a lot of vehicle traffic on your property, that could be where the zinc is coming from. If you got a old vehicle on your property that's been sitting for a long time and it's leaking oil on the ground, and when it rains, the rainwater washes that oil down the storm drain, that could be where if you have a high amount of hydrocarbon pollution, that could be where it's coming from. And then you also have to have a description of the control measures and additional control measures to minimize exposure. And what are your good housekeeping practices? Do you run a street sweeper around every day, twice a week? Do you contain and clean up oil spills immediately? Do you have a spill kit readily available? Do you keep things covered up that could be a source of potential pollution to the environment? And then you continue on, inspection procedures and documentation. So keep a log of when you inspect all your storm drains, when you change all of your storm drain filters. We'll get to the filters here in just a minute. And, corrective action, and retain copies of any corrective action taken at your facility with your stormwater management plan. And background pollutants, documentation that pollutants of concern are not expected to be present above natural background levels at your site. Again, record keeping, so basically a 3-ring binder or a file on your computer system. You want to have designated employees or an employee that does the inspections, that does the stormwater maintenance. So this is just to help give you an idea and get you started in the right direction. So again, as we said, do you sweep your facility? They make small street sweepers if you have a small site. You can also farm it out to an outside vendor. They can come through and you can have them sweep your facility once a week, twice a week, whatever you need. Do you have spill kits readily available and clearly marked for employees to use in the event of an accidental spill to protect your stormwater inlets? Do you keep all of your drums closed, properly labeled, and covered? Here's an example on the far right of a drum storage unit. And it has a built-in secondary containment pallet, so if they leak, it doesn't leak into the environment. It'll be contained inside that containment pallet, just as an example for you. So now we get into storm drain filters. There's several different types. Here's one that I designed a few years back. Basically, it's an insert that you would lower down inside your storm drain inlet. You take the grate off, set this in there, put the grate back down. And this one basically has a double-walled PVC perforated pipe with fine mesh screen wrapped around it. And between the two sections of perforated pipe, you would add gravel and sand or granular activated carbon, etc. Media that will help filter out hydrocarbons and contaminants and zinc, etc. before the water goes into the storm drain. Here's another type of storm drain, storm basin filtration system. So you can see this consists of 2 cartridges. They're open cell foam, and then these cartridges can be replaced. So here again, you would set this down into your storm drain inlet. Yet another product you can buy readily available online is these storm drain filter socks or filter inlet, storm drain filter inlet. And basically, some of them have a frame around them like you see here on the left. Some of them do not. You can zip tie them to your storm drain grate, and then obviously you set the grate back down, and that holds the filter in place. And these come in different shapes and sizes. They can hold a lot of weight, a lot of sediment, leaves, twigs, trash, etc. Some of them are even made of material that will absorb hydrocarbons. And then again, usually when I used to replace these, you put orange cones around the storm drain grate. You use a forklift and a chain. You lift the storm drain grate off, remove the old sock filter, put on a new sock filter with zip ties, lower it back down. Another option, especially like at a construction site, is these inlet filter pads that you set on top of the storm drain filter, the storm drain inlet grate, and you zip tie it to it, and that helps filter out a lot of the sediment and debris from getting down into the storm drain as well. And you want a 3-inch of overlap all around with this particular type. And you don't want to set it and forget it. It's something that you need to occasionally inspect and clean off any excessive debris or dirt or trash. And that would be part of your stormwater pollution prevention plan. Another style, if you have curb inlets for your storm drain like this, this is a Dandy Curb 4-foot sediment inlet filter. So that basically kind of blocks the inlet and filters the water, storm water, before it goes down the drain, and it'll catch a lot of the sediment and trash and debris. I hope this video helped. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave me a comment for future video topics you would like me to cover.